Hi, and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by Get Go Cafe and Market, where right now you can get their $3.99 breakfast special, getting you a hash brown, breakfast sandwich, and a small coffee.
Don't forget, we tell you all the time, you can get really filled up 2 for $6 croissant sandwiches. It's breakfast item, but you can get them all day.
All day.
Get a good meal out of it.
Well, the Pitt's defense was not able to stop North Carolina all day in their 38-35 loss. You spoke to Pat Narduzzi after another defensive struggle and how they're going to get ready for Central Florida, a team that last year was the self-proclaimed national champions. Yeah. But right now they have a very different offense. They're dynamic. What is your take on the transition of what Pitt just went through with North Carolina, a game that many predicted them to win, going into this situation?
Well, from the standpoint of the matchup, it is similar in that, North Carolina sort of lives in their 3 and 4 wide sets, likes to spread out. Central Florida likes to do the same thing, which is a challenge for Pitt because Pitt loves to live in their base defense on early downs, which, Pat Narduzzi, whether you call it, faith in his system or just plain stubbornness, he doesn't want to get out of that for risk of, if he throws extra defensive backs on the field on early downs, he's worried about getting the ball run at him, which Central Florida has a decent running game. I mean, that's certainly not, something you can ignore from them, but their calling card is spreading that ball out, getting it out to their fast receivers, and that's what Pitt had trouble with against North Carolina, was tackling fast receivers in the open field. So they're going to be tested again with the same thing 2 weeks in a row.
How do you think that the Pitt's going to try to counter that? Because if Pat Narduzzi stays in that same base defense, they're asking to get picked apart just like they did against North Carolina.
And step number one, though, it's tackling. They did not tackle well in the open field against North Carolina, and so I don't care if it's linebackers like Sean Idowu, Elijah Zeiss out there, or if it's extra defensive backs, they got to bring the guy down when they get a shot.
Let's take a step back from Pitt and let's look at the entire ACC, because right now there's a lot of questions going on between teams that you expect to be powerhouses and teams that you expect to be run over all the time.
Yeah, and it's been a weird year, and especially this past weekend, just a weird weekend in the ACC. A lot of strange occurrences. Number one, of course, being Virginia Tech losing to Old Dominion.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
I mean, first of all, Virginia Tech, I give them hats off to them for going to Norfolk and playing, a non-Power 5 team on the road, which we saw Miami do earlier in the year too, going up to Toledo. So, it's Pitt's done that a few times in the past too. I like to see that, but yeah, Old Dominion's 28 points in the fourth quarter, knocks out off Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech, bigger problem coming out of that game, their starting quarterback, Josh Jackson, he's down with a broken leg. Yeah. He's going to be out possibly the whole season.
Tough to ask him.
They haven't ruled him out completely, but by the time Pitt plays Virginia Tech on November 10th, he's probably not going to be back then. So that's really going to hurt the Hokies' chances, and they were one of the division favorites.
And one of the things that shocked me was the Hokies are supposed to be based on defense, and Dominion was just all over the place. They could not stop anything they were doing, and it made me think, it's like, whoa, is this the situation? Even though the Edmonds brothers are now in the NFL, they still had a lot of guys in their roster that made you excited to watch them. But I mean, across the ACC, lots of questions going on. Wake Forest not bringing out their kicker with their special teams unit.
I mean, that was just bizarre. I mean, I've seen many field goals in the past where only 10 guys are on the field. They're struggling to get it's a tight end or somebody that might have come off with the offense.
But not the kicker on the kick.
Yes, and that, of course, was a game against Notre Dame. It was scoreless at the time. Wake Forest goes up early. Who knows how it's different? I don't think it would have been too much different because Notre Dame hung 56 on them, and Wake Forest proceeded to respond by firing their defensive coordinator 4 games into the season. So more uncertainty from a team that, Wake was expected to be, a bowl contender this year. Maybe not a top of the division contender, but so you've got them. We all see what's going on at Florida State. That they're just struggling. They're the perennial class of the ACC.
Yeah, and they're not anything where they need to be. And it makes me really feel for DeAndre Francois, their quarterback. I watched him 2 years ago when he was dropping back. He was always taking heat, but he kept them competitive. And last year, got hit, took an injury. This year, he's getting hit every time he drops back. Against Syracuse, I mean, there was at one point that they're like the tackles, you literally saw them not touch anybody, and when they went to help him up, he slapped their hands away. Like, get off me! You're not. What are you doing? You're not even blocking anybody.
And that's funny. The last thing you mentioned, Syracuse. This is how upside down the conference is right now. So far off to good starts. Virginia's 3-1, 1-0 in the conference. They were predicted to finish last in the division. Syracuse was predicted to finish last in the Atlantic, and the other side, they're 4-0.
Goodness.
And then you've got the other teams without a loss in the conference. We all expected Clemson, of course, but Duke and NC State are the other two.
Yeah.
Who thought NC State would be there losing all those defensive linemen to the NFL? It's an upside-down year. Pitt still has a chance with as crazy as it is.
Switching sports, Pitt basketball. Their first practice was Tuesday. Matt, Jeff Capel, the era has begun.
It has, and man, it just seems weird. Everything gets earlier and earlier as these seasons gets longer. Basketball starting in September.
Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, I mean, they opened up practice for their first one, or opened up the last hour of it, basically. And you know, it was good to see. I mean, Jeff Capel, he's out there on the court. I mean, he's an active, hands-on type of coach. He's out on the court, taking the first shot, leading the break, getting the guys started, as they go in the drill. I particularly like the one drill where it was a transition defense one where he had basically 2 lines of 5, and he'd call out the name of 1 or 2 guys on the one team. They had to go touch the other baseline before they could get back on defense, so it created a 5-on-3. But he had the guys running, and that is something we're going to see from Pitt this year. And I think, win or lose, it's going to be a more entertaining product to watch because they want to get up and down in transition. They're going to be small, so they're going to have to.
Yeah, they can't play half court.
Right, they're going to have to try and create turnovers, press a little bit, try to play to their strengths basically. And they've really worked in the offseason on making that their strength too. I mean, Jared Wilson-Frames, their leading scorer coming back, he lost 20 pounds in the offseason. I mean, these guys are coming in more fit. They're more. Cam Davis, was, he wasn't saying it to be boastful, but when anybody says, he's down to 4%, muscle or body fat, I mean, that's something to be proud of. I mean, he wasn't bragging when he said it.
I'm not down to 4%
body
fat.
all these guys, they really put in a lot of work in the offseason. Now, granted, they're still going into the ACC against Duke, Carolina, the powerhouse.
But that's what I wanted to ask you because in my understanding, I'm a big fan of college basketball in general. The ACC has been that run and gun, get on the move, get on, set your horses out, go get them type of basketball. And people wondered when Pitt transitioned, and it's like, well, that's not been Pitt's MO for the longest time. Is this something that they could feasibly do? Now understanding this is just his first year. He's not. He's trying to get the recruiting going to bring people in, but. Doing that alone, could he make a competitive team out of these Panthers to at least, challenge and get into the ACC tournament?
Well, I mean, everybody makes the ACC tournament.
You know what I mean? Like
to navigate into, that's. I'm optimistic this year.
They were in the tournament last year.
Overall, I'm thinking this has the potential to be like a 500 type team. Talking overall, which would mean they probably win 6 conference games, go 6-12 in the ACC, which after going winless a year ago, that would be a significant improvement.
Yeah.
And I think the potential is there. A lot of it's going to come down to how these guys adapt to a new coaching style, a new system, playing the way Jeff Capel wants to. And there's going to be growing pains. I have no doubt about that. They play West Virginia early in the season, which will be their first real test against a ranked team. And there's going to be some bumps and bruises. But I like the direction it's going already. But like Jeff Capel said, everybody's going to like him until he loses a game.
Very true.
All right, now going back to football for a little bit, big issue in this town, it seems like, has been penalties. And, starting with where I've been covering Pitt football, they've had some issues with penalties. They cut down on them against North Carolina, but still had a few in inopportune times. Just, getting out on the field late on first down, and getting illegal shift penalties because they're not getting lined up quick enough. Just little things they have to correct. They've done better. Steelers, not so much. They Monday night, that was kind of rough with the hankies all over the field.
I mean, it was left and right. And right now, the Steelers have the most penalties in the NFL. I heard a statistic that they had the most since the '98 Raiders. I'm not sure how.
I think it was. They're the 98 Raiders are the only one worse than them at this point through 3 games, and that's over the last 20 years.
That's so wild to think about. But also, you got to look at they're averaging 12.3 penalties per game right now. That's unacceptable. Tomlin brought that up in his press conference on Tuesday. He was talking about how this is not the level of football they want to play. I'm sure everyone's heard that before, and that's what everyone's like. Okay, we get that, Tomlin. Is anything actually going to change? I think what everyone's talking about in the NFL when it comes to penalties are what is going on with roughing the passer penalties. That was half of the Steelers penalties in the game when Stephon Tuitt hit Ryan Fitzpatrick as he was releasing the ball and landed on top of him. You even saw his hands come off of him, and it was still a penalty. Sean Davis hitting him right after he threw the ball. and J.J. Watt, brother of T.J. Watt, of course, saying that what's going on with the roughing the passer penalties.
Yeah, well, how about during the game? I don't know if you're watching it on TV. That Gerald McCoy from the Buccaneers
He apologized to Ben Roethlisberger
as he's hitting Ben.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, Ben.
Sorry. That's the mentality that's going on in the league right now. And I was listening to Peter King talk with Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, and Mike Florio is like, oh, the NFL wants more offense, so this is what we should get. And Peter King's like, I want balanced football. I want there to be a fair chance for both sides to succeed. And when the defense, I think William Hayes is the defensive end for the Dolphins. He pulled off of Derek Carr over the weekend, trying not to land with his body weight. He tore his ACL doing so. Right. This is, and people are continuing to make this point. Richard Sherman said it over the weekend. The NFL doesn't care about anyone except quarterbacks because, and people will say, well, they're the ones that sell. But at the same time, people love great defenses. People say, oh, well, offense sells tickets. Well, that 2000 Ravens defense, that sold a lot of tickets. When the Steelers were hot, they sell a lot of tickets.
And I disagree a little bit when they say it's just about quarterbacks because you look at all the rule changes over the last 15 years. Really. Receivers are getting protected more. And not even just protection rules where they talk about safety. I'm saying going back to as they increase the illegal contact downfield. Just ever since I was young, really, the rules always seem to change toward the offense. And what's wrong with just a good balanced, an exciting 21-17 type game? I think it's, they've definitely, the pendulum has swung too far. And I see they're already talking about, discussing how to do this better in future years. But for now,
Tomlin questioned how much this is impacting the entertainment value. And I think that's a legitimate question about the game.
And the one thing I'll say, though, about Tomlin, look, that's going to happen. It's happening around the NFL. That's fine. We got to live with it. But penalties like Darius Hayward-Bay taking the unsportsmanlike and crucial, those are the ones I think Steeler fans everywhere can live with. A roughing the passer penalty that, hey, everybody in the league's getting them the way it's being called now. But it's stuff like that people want to see cleaned up.
You got to keep your head, and you got to make sure you're limiting your self-inflicted mistakes.